Hi, friends. It's me, Christiana Gaudet. I am live on my Facebook business page. It is Thursday, and that means it is time for the Tarot Topics Weekly Newsletter Recap. Hey, T, nice to see you. Leisha, nice to see you. So, Amber, nice to see you. So, I will go over the topic and what the readings are going to be about today in just a moment. Let me remind you that I have a free class coming up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Christiana Gaudet, this coming Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The topic is when water is not water. And that means we're going to be looking at Temperance and the Star, two major arcana cards that are typically shown pouring water, but in both cases, what they are pouring really isn't water. We'll find out what it is and what it all means Saturday at 10:30 a.m. It's a free class. Please be there. Now, if you are not a member of the Global Tarot Circle Facebook group, please ask to join. I'd love to see you there. I do want to let you know that the monthly Global Tarot Circle meeting that up until recently has been held on Facebook Live is moving to my YouTube channel, but we are keeping the Global Tarot Circle group on Facebook so that we can plan and do exercises and figure things out. But we'll be meeting over on YouTube. Technology is a little bit easier there for most people. Now, I do have a class coming up on Zoom. This is a premium class, Sharing Wisdom, Reading for Others. Tickets are $37.50. That is going to be August 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You can get your ticket on my website, christianagaudet.com, or right here looking at my Facebook page, looking at the events. Okay, so on Thursdays, we do the Tarot Topic Weekly Newsletter Recap. So this is not just about asking for a card. You're going to have to pose a question, and it's going to have to be specific. So if you did not have a chance to read the newsletter, the title of the newsletter is Do Not Live There. And you've probably heard me say that many times. It's an expression I use to talk about how we find the balance between positive thinking, which we all know is important, and dealing with hard truth. You know, there is a thing that is called toxic positivity. And toxic positivity is what happens when we refuse to allow ourselves or others to acknowledge their grief, to acknowledge their sadness, their anger, their anxiety, those emotions that are less comfortable to sit with. We have to be able to acknowledge those things and deal with those things, but then not live there. So today, I am taking questions specifically on either an issue that you have that you're having a hard time moving on from. Is there something that you're having a hard time moving on from where we could give you some insight on how to move on? Is there a place where you're having a hard time finding the positive perspective of something difficult? So, I know a few of you have requested cards. We can do that on Mondays and Fridays. But on Thursdays and Saturdays, we need specific questions. And today, the specific question has to be about insight around finding a positive perspective on something difficult that you're struggling with, or insight on how to move on, how to get closure, how to move on from something that you are struggling with. So go ahead and formulate your questions. I'll get to as many people as I can. What are you struggling with? Where are you feeling stuck? Where have you taken up residence in your head that is not helpful to you? Go ahead and let me know, and I will be happy to do a reading on that. Now, beyond that, I do want to let you know that the Tarot Topics Weekly Newsletter is available to you. It can come in your inbox every Wednesday. All you have to do is subscribe, and you can do that on my webpage, christianagaudet.com. gmail.com. Okay, as asked, I asked, you delivered. Here we are, Amber Sailor. I want to know how to move from my anxiety. It holds me back. Yeah, anxiety is so hard, so hard. So, and obviously that can be a medical question, that can be a question for your doctor, but let's see what the cards say. How do you move on from anxiety? Four of Pentacles reversed, Five of Wands, King of Cups reversed, King of Wands. Okay, I've got a story here for you. So here's the thing, Amber. There's a couple of problems. Number one, in a way, you have anxiety about having anxiety. When you are feeling anxious, there's a part of you that's feeling bad about being anxious, and therefore you're anxious about being anxious. Acknowledge your anxiety and acknowledge that most of the time your anxiety is triggered by something real. And so try to get to that real thing. What is the thing that's really bothering me? And the funny thing is, the anxiety will keep you bothered, but it won't allow you to get into that thing. So breathe, acknowledge the anxiety. Do not feel shame about having the anxiety. And then try to get to that kernel of what it really is and address that thing. You know, those of us, and I'm in this category too, those of us who struggle with anxiety, it's part of our makeup. You know, we can take medication, and sometimes better living through chemistry is a good thing, but we have to learn how to manage it. And so try the technique I just shared with you and see how that helps. Okay. Okay, Erica, thanks for having a question, but it's not really in line with what we're looking at here. What we're looking at here is specifically readings about something that is bothering you that you need to either reframe or learn how to move past. So if you want to reframe a question, ask a new question regarding that, I'd be happy to handle it. Okay, Ermit, what to move from a friendship, which okay, you're having a hard time moving on at the end of a friendship. Okay, let's take a look. Well, when we look at this friendship, when it was at its best, you know, the thing is, it always had ups and downs. When it was good, it was really good. But when it was bad, it was a lot of work and kind of difficult. And that was never your fault. That was never your fault. And so I think that you have to stop just remembering the good times, remembering that all of those good times came at a heavy price. And I think, you know, and this is good advice for all of us with all kinds of relationships, friendships, love relationships, what have you, that you have to really look at what's the worst it can be. We already know what the best it can be is because that's why we're there. But you have to remember the worst it can be. And if that worst is below your baseline of what you can tolerate, it doesn't matter how good the good is. So that's true for a lot of us about a lot of relationships, but I think it's true for you there. And folks, I thank you so much for your feedback. I do read it. I don't always read it aloud in the interest of time, but I do see it and I do appreciate it. Oh, T. McConnell, how can I move on toward making myself a priority? Yeah, that'd be a real life shift for you. All right, let's take a look and see. How can you do that? I only needed one card for this. Hey, Dominique! So happy to see you here. Welcome. Dominique just got her first set of tarot cards, so we're going to be seeing a lot of her. So excited, so excited. And Barrett's been sharing some interesting stuff about anxiety. So for those of you like Amber, like me, probably other people here too, who do suffer with some anxiety, go ahead and take a look in the comments. There's some smart stuff there. Okay, so T, this only took one card because that one card is the Nine of Pentacles. So here's the thing. You have been trained to put everyone first. And that is part of sort of what you take pride in. You take pride in your ability to take care of your friends, your family, your community, your job, all of that, all of that. And it's good to take pride in that. But sometimes What you have done is taken so much pride in what you do that you don't remember to be proud and nurturing of simply who you are. You need to develop a practice, maybe it's only 5 minutes a day, of just sitting in silent contemplation, not complication, but that was a good Freudian slip because this will be complicated for you. Sit in silent contemplation of what it is just to be. What it is to be T, what it is to be you. Not even the good and bad of it, but just the essence of it. To be in your own aura, in your own energy, in your own essence. To feel the support of your ancestors behind you. And just feel that. And that will give you the foundation you need to recognize that you must be the priority. And honestly, because if you don't, you're not going to be there to take care of other people, which has always been your priority. So it serves both missions, doesn't it? All right. TK, I don't want to leave the USA, but I have to. How do I move on? Oh, man, we're going to miss you so much. We don't want you to go either, and we're so happy for the internet because wherever you are, we'll still be able to be connected with you. But there were so many things that I wanted you and I to have a chance to do that we never did. And I really hope the time will come that either I can travel to you or you can travel back to us because we're going to miss you. So how do you move on from the United States? Three of Pentacles, couple of things. Oh, and then the Knight of Wands. Oh, so many things here. I think you have to recognize that you did a really good job here. You learned an awful lot about yourself. You learned a lot about your field of study. You learned a lot about how to work with people. You learned so much here. And all of those things, all of those experiences, all of those friends that you've made, you're taking with you. I mean, not literally, but the things that are within you, you are certainly taking with you. And I think you have to be open to the idea that the next chapter can be even better and will build on the foundation that you have already built. So like the Knight of Wands that figures very prominently here, it is very important for you to have a sense of adventure and recognize that over this time you have gathered so many tools that you're going to bring all those tools with you to the next place and the next place and the next place. It's sad to leave, but it's exciting to go someplace else. Okay. And again, we are taking questions here about what is hard to move on from, how to move on, new perspectives on difficult things. If you have questions such as that, please do ask them. If you just ask for a card, that works on Mondays and Fridays, does not work on Thursdays and Saturdays. Okay, Julie, nice to see you. I'd love help on how to remain realistically positive and not dark imagining around relationships. Yeah, man, you're using my term, dark imagining. Yeah. So, how to be realistically positive around relationships. And I think you specifically mean love relationships here. And the thing is, this whole topic gives you anxiety. You are so good at managing your life. You are so good at your job. You are so good at being a good psychic. You are so good at so many things. But you don't feel like you have a handle on how to have relationships because you have not seen a lot of good relationships modeled for you. And you yourself have not manifested really great relationships in your life. And so, it's like, how do you ride an elephant? If you've never done it and you've never taken an elephant riding lesson, you can maybe imagine how to do it, but really, how do you do it? And so I think it's like that. And so I think that your experiences and what you've seen have been predominantly negative, and that's why you go into those dark imaginings. So how do we fix that? We fix that by recognizing that some things are different than riding an elephant because we really are naturally born to do them. We really are naturally born to interact with one another, to love one another. That is our nature. And beyond that, you are a smart, intuitive person, and we all learn from our mistakes. And so recognize that you have a natural capacity for this, and that people have been hurting each other in love since the beginning of time, but people have also been making each other happy in love since the beginning of time. And love really does bring its own miracles if you let it. So hopefully that will help. Okay, Christina says, Karen Winkle would like to know how to move on from feeling responsible for everyone financially. Well, the thing is, she has been responsible for everyone financially for a long time. And so I think it's going to be a matter of looking at, well, what are the expectations now? Who amongst this group of people actually has or will have earning capacity that they did not have before? How are the expectations changed? You know, this is one where it's really time to just do the math and figure it out. Figure out who really is now dependent and who is not. And if someone is dependent, how long are they going to be dependent for? This cannot be ad infinitum. There has to be a plan forward. So engaging other people in this conversation. And the problem is, she feels like if she does not provide this, then she has no value. And that's the real issue. She needs to recognize that what she brings to the table is so much more than a bank account. Okay. Okay, hey Bigot, so nice to see you here. So I'm not quite sure how to do your question in the context of our topic today, which is about specifically moving on from something difficult or reframing, finding a new perspective on a particular problem. So if you could sort of rework that within that context, that would be great. Okay, Lori, how do I move on from the memories of a difficult childhood? I have a very narcissistic father. Yeah, that you live with. And that makes it really, really, really hard. And so, but maybe, you know, having him there is sort of spiritually appropriate so you can learn to push back from it. So, how do you do that? You have to be very conscious, Lori, of when you are reacting to something internally or externally. When you are reacting to something from that wounded child place. And then you have to have a conversation with your inner wounded child and explain to them why that is not what's going on here now. That is not the reaction that is necessary. So it's going to have to be almost mechanical that you talk with your wounded inner child and help her understand that things really are different now and you have agency now and you have power now. That's what's important, I think. Okay, Teresa. The start of school has me worried sick. How to handle that? How to handle the start of school? That is a serious problem one way or the other. And the card that comes up is the Hierophant, which reminds you at the end of the day that you are the authority. You handle this the way that you think it needs to be handled best, not necessarily the way the officials are handling it. If you're comfortable with what they're doing, great. If not, you are the authority and you have other options. If you're going to go ahead and do it as planned, fine. But again, you make sure that everything that is happening is according to the protocols for your child that you set up. Okay, Dominique, how can I better advocate for myself in my consulting work with difficult clients? So here's the problem. You really need all the clients you can get right now. You really do. However, you need to make your clients think that you don't need them that much. And sort of subtly, you need to get them to think that if they're not going to behave, you're going to send them along. I will tell you in my own work, there is no easier way to get a difficult client to behave than by very gently saying, we may not be a good fit. I may not be the reader for you. And man, as soon as I say that, they are right up and ready to go and ready to work with me. So, okay, Vijayetta, how can I clear the negativity? You have to want to clear it. The problem is, attached to that negativity is a story that you yourself are hanging on to. You have to be willing to change your story to let go of that negativity. Hey, Zuri, nice to see you. Okay. Martha. Martha says, I recently did a video about the need to lament in these challenging times. We need to lament, but not stay stuck. Exactly. Martha, I need help releasing negativity toward myself as I address the chaos in my life. Well, and this is good. This is important for you and for all of us, because we all have some traits within us that we wish were not what they were, right? We all have flaws or traits that we see as negative or that need healing. What if we stop judging them? I know that sounds counterintuitive because you have to call it out in order to change it. But what if you start with, I love myself and accept myself exactly as I am. And because I love myself, I'm going to work to change these behaviors, but stop making it be about good and bad. I think that would be helpful for all of us. Okay, Barrett, I have a struggle with letting old friends go. How would I best accomplish this? It causes some anxiety. Yeah, I hear that. Let's see. Well, the thing is, I feel like with these friends, you have given them plenty of opportunity to be reciprocal, to move forward in an adult relationship appropriately. And I feel like part of your anxiety is guilt. Like you feel like you should do more, there's something wrong with you, and there's not. If you give people plenty of opportunity and you're not integrating well with the way they're behaving, or they're not integrating well with you, then it is best for both of you, all of you, to just move on and make room for the connections that are really going to nurture you. Okay, Barbara Ann, we are doing the newsletter recap here. So we need a specific question that is related to the topic, which is moving on from difficulty. So it can be reframing something. It can be finding a way to move on. Those are the questions we're looking for today. So if you want to rephrase that, go ahead. Okay, Christina, I am super frustrated with my oldest stepsister for how she treats her dad. How can I move past the negative feelings with her? I know we've had different experiences, but I can't condone how she treats him. So you know what's interesting? What's interesting is that when we look at a lot of what we've talked about here today, including Barrett's that he missed, you're going to have to go and get it in replay. A lot of when we talk about moving on, something that keeps coming up is about judgment, is about releasing judgment of ourselves, judging things as good and bad. The feeling of guilt that comes from others' judgment, which was a thing for you, Barrett. And so you're asking, how can I move on from this? But all of us seem to be in a place where we need to learn to get past judgment. And so when we look at your particular situation, Christina, poor Barrett is working. I understand completely. Okay, so Christina, I think we have to understand that your sister does not really know any better. And you might be able to model better behavior for her. You might be able to sort of gently guide her, but don't see this as a judgment of her character. And recognize that her dad has the ability to speak out and to make a change. And if he chooses not to, that's kind of on him. So I recognize that it is really disturbing. And what you're witnessing here is family dysfunction, which never feels good. But recognize that you can model better behavior, and that would be a good thing. But do not think this is so much a reflection of her character as it is of her ignorance. Okay, Barbara Ann. I've been attempting to move on from past relationships. How may I do this successfully? Good question. You know, the thing is, I think any person that you've been involved with has some wonderful qualities. And you remember those wonderful qualities. You remember the things that were good. And because you are personally and professionally a people fixer, it is always in your mind and heart, Barbara Ann, to think that maybe there is something you could do or could have done to fix the situation. And I think we have to recognize that some things and some people and some relationships cannot be fixed. And so we move on by recognizing there's nothing more you could have done. It was great in this way, but because of this and this, it didn't work. It's not about you. It's nothing you could have fixed. That's how you move on. Okay, I am coming to the end of my time. If I have missed you, or if you didn't ask a question but now you want to, go ahead. And just to go back, Barrett, we were talking about your friends and letting go of your friends. And what came up really was recognizing that you had given them plenty of opportunities to show up as good friends for you, and they didn't. And so there's nothing to feel guilty about, and it's not in your power to do anything about it. That if you give people an opportunity and they don't show up, that's on them, not on you. That's a recap. That's a recap of the recap. Okay, so that was the Tarot Topics Weekly Newsletter recap on the topic of how you don't live in your place of grief, sorrow, anger, any of that, but you do have to acknowledge it. And that is such a delicate balance. But it is on that balance that I think good emotional, mental, psychological, spiritual health is based. So let's all work on that. And if you are not on my mailing list, go to my website, christianagaudet.com. There you can sign up for Tarot Topics. You can get your ticket for Sharing Wisdom Reading for Others, which is going to be on the 26th at 7 p.m. And you can make an appointment right there to have a reading with me. I'll be back tomorrow with your Friday weekly wrap up, and that is a place you can just ask for a card and we will look at the week that was. I'll see you then. Thank you so much for being here.